Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the Q&A for Flavors Without Borders. And we have the on-screen talent and the creators with us today. We have Arushi Chuk, our cinematographer. Desi, I have already forgotten how to say your last name. Trychevska?
Yes. Yeah.
Dominika Lipinski and Ida Hahn. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. So Dominika, our producer, and Ida, our host, which you guys did such an amazing job. I mean, okay, all right. This is how this Q&A is going to go. I'm going to tell you how great this project is, and then you're just going to give me some behind the scenes information. I would love to know kind of how you got the idea for this project in the first place. I think there's so much at play here. There's, female empowerment, there's immigration, and then there's kind of like the great denominator of food. So I think that all of these ingredients come together in such a nice way. I would just love to know how you thought of it. How did we get here?
It was me and Dominika. Yeah, I'll let the producer start.
So basically there was a moment of hesitation here because basically Desi and I developed it together. And I think we're trying to combine things that sort of interest us, that are important for us. So it is things like, the female empowerment, getting to know other cultures. I'm sort of quite interested in travel and wanted to focus on travel shows. And Desi is very much interested in the cuisine part of it. So we sort of wanted to combine the two ideas and sort of create a show that combines travel and food. And also we're thinking how food is a great way to get to know other cultures and other people. And sort of also because of the pandemic, we were thinking how to do a travel show without leaving the UK. So we sort of did, discovering new cultures, but within UK, which is such a diverse cultural place, especially when it comes to food. So I think that was sort of the idea behind it.
It's great. Desi, is there anything else you wanted to comment on there?
No, absolutely. Like what Dominika said, we were really starting to develop this show before the pandemic, and we kind of have some ideas we didn't really know, and then the pandemic hit, and we had to change our way of thinking. And I think looking in what the country already had to offer, all the diverse cuisines around here, and all the interesting people that we could actually go and meet still, I think that's what kind of sparked all of our ideas to develop the show.
If COVID weren't a factor, would you have wanted to travel to those countries? Was that the original idea?
I think we really wanted to. I don't know if that would have actually happened, but I think that was what our aim was, to have something more international.
Yeah, but I think the pandemic sort of helped in a sense that it helped us come up with a different angle and sort of discover the new cultures without leaving the country we're in. So I think it sort of benefited the idea to make it more original and just look at it from a different point of view.
That's great. I mean, I studied abroad in London, so I lived there for all of 6 months in college. But I think there's this stereotype. I don't know if it's an American stereotype, but they go, "Ooh, you're going to London, like enjoy the food," like that it's not the best. But you get there and you're like, the world is in this city. It's like everyone from it's the biggest melting pot. I've lived in New York. It doesn't even compare to London in terms of the international influence. So I just love that you're kind of breaking a stereotype, at least an American one, that the food is incredible in England.
I think it's kind of
definitely. And it is definitely because of all the diverse cuisines that are here. Exactly.
I think that cuisines actually in London are more accessible. Like in terms of in New York, you still have your neighborhoods and you've got all of it's a melting pot as well. But I feel like because London is right literally halfway between all of these other countries, you've got so much more diversity there, and that's how it's kind of become the melting pot. And yes, I mean, I hate to say this, but yes, there's some interesting things about English cuisine and English cuisine, but I think that really it is the international, the immigration within the city of London that makes it more sort of flavorsome, and you've got more access to different things there.
And I'd love to hear your story, just kind of because you're a restaurateur in London. I would love to hear how you got involved and kind of your background a bit.
So I'm originally from Pakistan, and my whole goal, and this is why this show really resonates with me as well is because we focus on females immigrating who've come in and brought in their own cuisine. And that's what I try to do as well. I kind of created a restaurant in London, Pakistani cuisine. I've got two sons. I want kids who I wanted to sort of give them the same kind of food that I grew up on. And I feel like that also, in terms of the show itself, a lot of mothers and a lot of women who did that have kind of introduced London to the same cuisine. So the same way, so that was my story. I just wanted to give my flavors, my food to this country and kind of also come up with food that I could be proud of. And that's how I started Shola. Was started from cooking at home for my friends and then going off for formal training. But the training was what my mother had already given me and my grandmother. And I plagiarized a lot of recipes from my aunt and grandmother and everyone who I may never have given credit to, but that is, but that is the way that I feel like you've got nostalgic food that carries on traditions, and that again the show so kind of focuses on that, right? That these memories of where these women are coming from, you want to take a part of yourself and bring it into London.
That's fantastic. And how did you all get connected from the show perspective, from a development side?
Yeah, we were looking for someone who had who could lead the show, who also has that experience in bringing their own flavors into UK, so they can relate to the contributors in the show, so they can sort of, learn from each other, sort of. So someone who knows it, but also is eager to learn about new cultures. And that's sort of how we found Ida. We're looking at a lot of people, and Ida really spoke to us and sort of what she represents, and we thought she's like a perfect host. So yeah, I think so.
It's just so much fun. I mean, I'm so glad they found me.
Owned it. I mean, you did a fantastic job hosting. I would have thought that it was your idea and that you were the force behind the show, the way you owned it. I mean, you did a fantastic job.
Not at all. It was all these wonderful ladies, and all I had to do was show up there on set. Everything was taken care of. I would show up and just talk, which clearly I love doing. That's all I
That's what you want from a host.
Exactly.
talk about food, and that's it.
That's right.
About food and the people cook, and I got to eat.
Yeah, but it was also great because before recording, we also spoke to Ida, and she would also like give us some questions she would like to ask, which was great. Like her knowledge of the food sort of, let us improve what we sort of asked the other contributors. So it was a lot of cooperation. So it was also, part of her job. So it wasn't just us.
No, it's great. Well, you're talking about just showing up and having everything ready. I want to talk to these ladies about the actual production side. I mean, Desi and Arushi, right? I'm already messing up, guys.
Yeah.
I'm just Q&A now. I would love to just know from production side. I mean, you're still in COVID. You're shooting this show. How did that impact everything? I mean, did you have a small team? Were there any issues you had to overcome? Tell me a little bit about that.
So this project was our graduation project for our master's degree. So me, Arushi, and Dominika all just graduated from the National Film and Television School in the UK. So we had our master's project, which we wanted to be something that we really liked. So when we decided to go with this idea, we wanted to have someone on board like Arushi to help us achieve the vision, and the whole rest of the team, all wonderful and great people who Salika and all here with us today, really contributed to this overall look of the show. So yeah, it was a lot of hurdles to be crossed. We wanted to shoot the show in a certain way, and then things had to change just because of COVID. And as things changed during summer, we shot it in September, and we had production from I would say July we started production until September, and it was just every week, as you can imagine, the news would change. We had, at some point we were like, well, the restaurants wouldn't even be open for us to shoot because we were doing a culinary show with no restaurants available. So it was a lot of us trying to find a way to actually realize our vision with all the stops that COVID provided. But I think that made us dig even deeper, try to find different people, try to find different possibilities to tell the story. So I think overall everyone worked super hard and really put a lot into it, and we managed to do this all together. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, but I think
go for it.
yeah, throughout basically the plot was kind of evolving. For example, we were supposed to go to one restaurant, and the day before they said we can only come there for 1 hour instead of 3 that we planned. So we had to extend one segment. So even in the edit, the show was still sort of evolving because of what we managed to get. But I think because we were quite flexible with it and we focused mostly on the stories of the people, we sort of managed to do that. But yeah, it was sort of unknown to the last minute of if we can actually do it.
Yeah, and another thing that we had to do, we wanted to shoot this single camera just because of the amount of crew that would otherwise would have been required. We wanted to minimize it to the absolute minimum because we went into people's houses, we went into small venues, and we had to adhere to the COVID guidelines. And then we did brilliantly doing interviews with one camera that were 2 meters apart. So,
but I mean, I think it's also kudos to like them, because I think usually TV is known for its multi-camera setups. It's known for the fact that you keep cutting from a close to a wide to a two shot. But I think the fact that we chose to do a single camera also added intimacy to the project. It added the fact that now we had a rapport with each of the contributors. We knew that we were whipping between one contributor and another while they were answering questions. But I think both of them and everybody on the team were really well prepared for what we were doing. And everyone was really invested in the project, which is why, regardless of all the limitations that we had, we were still able to achieve what we wanted to get.
I think, go ahead.
I just actually think that just made it so much more fun. Like otherwise it would just be another boring project that you're doing, right?
Yeah.
But I think the fact that we all had to kind of jump through hoops and make things work, and at the last minute, oh, we don't have permission for this, but let's do it this way. Or I think we all learned, I mean, and it was a COVID year, so everyone's trying to just do something different and kind of get some excitement in their lives. We pulled it off really well because we all, I think the whole crew by the end of it had bonded in such a way that we were like, oh yeah, sure, we can do that. We can jump there. I'll do that. And I think that that's really what made it, if anything, in hindsight, shooting it during COVID made it a much more interesting project for us to pull off.
Mm-hmm. I think you did an incredible job because it's really evergreen. It doesn't seem like, okay, this is a COVID production. There's no masks or awkward angles or anything. But I mean, Arushi, I'm sure that you had a vision and you probably had to, change it up based on what you had to do. If you were to do it again in a dream scenario, would you have a larger crew? Would you have more cameras? What would you change in an ideal scenario?
No, I mean, like what Dominica said before, I think that all of those limitations made the show evolve in a certain way. And I'm very happy with the way that it has turned out. Because I think what both Desi and Dominica wanted was for it to have a slight documentary feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when we follow Ida and Jirapan through the, when they're looking at ingredients, there's that energy to that piece that was required for it. If there were more than one cameras, I suppose it would have been a completely different project altogether. And I like the way it is right now. I like that we go in closer to these women and we know them more. So no, I don't think so. I think I'm very happy with.
I am too.
It's so much fun to shoot, just to be inside that. Like I loved it. It was so much fun just as being. I hope the audience can also see that, because there was so much honesty between us. Like we're just talking and discovering things, and then I'm trying this really interesting fighting thing that just erupts. There was a lot of truth into a lot of the shots, and I thought that was really good to achieve.
I think so. How did you decide on Thai food for this episode? You have so many different cuisines to choose from. Why did you decide to start with this as the pilot? And then do you have future, countries planned for the series?
I think for Thai food, me and Dominica were really like, oh, what are we going to do the show about? What is it going to be? Thai food? Is it going to be Chinese food? Indian food? There were so many options, and both me and Dominica were like, oh, maybe we can go and do it about our own countries. But then again, we thought Thai food was the one thing we were like, there's so many Thai restaurants, but there isn't that much Thai food that is talked about, because we've both seen shows that really focus on Indian and Chinese cuisine in the UK, but no really Thai food. So we're like, well, maybe this is more interesting to just actually dig in and try to find the stories there that haven't really been told. So I think that was kind of what inspired us, and both me and Dominica really like Thai food as well. So that was also one of the other reasons. And we ate a lot of Thai food during this production, definitely.
The catering on this project was incredible. Like, I would repeatedly just work on food productions because of the incredible kind of lunch you get.
Yeah, but to add to what Desi said, I think the idea at first was the first series to focus maybe on the most popular sort of food in the UK, and maybe later move on to something that's less explored. But yeah, again, we didn't want to start with something like Indian or Chinese just because it's so well known in UK. And I feel like we felt that people in UK might actually have more knowledge about it than us. So you wanted to show something that they can learn, something popular but not as popular, but yeah, also something that would be interesting for us to explore, because that would, yeah, the joy of exploring it, I think it also showed on screen that, you know, we learned something, everyone sort of learned something, and we're able to share that knowledge. Yeah, so I think that was the decision.
No, that's great. And I just wanted to kind of ask one last question about the women that you featured. You're not only featuring cuisines in the UK, but you're featuring these women, these restaurateurs in the UK. How did you find them, and how did you decide whose story to tell?
Oh, we digged. We really did. And there was so many people we could have done this with. And as we have in the show, the little montage actually showcasing how many successful Thai restaurateurs there are in the UK. It's crazy. And the thing is, we did shoot it during COVID, and we were limited. We could actually go into restaurants. People weren't opening, and it was very hard to reach people, honestly, because the business was like so fragile. Nobody really wanted to risk like having a crew in their restaurant, or, you know, even like bothering with us, to be honest. But I think the people we actually found, their stories were really inspiring to me personally. And I'm very happy with our main contributor, Jirapan. She was with us throughout the whole show as well with Aida. And the two of them have great chemistry. So I really like that. And yeah, her story and her journey was, she's a cooking teacher, so she has her own cooking school. So we wanted to explore not only people who are restaurateurs, but people who also have different ways of introducing the Thai cuisine to the British public. So we wanted to incorporate that as well in our show, so that later on in future episodes we could dig into different types of culinary people.
Yeah, from all around the industry, not just like the chef at the restaurant, but sort of show all around what possibilities are in the industry. But we did a lot of stalking on all social media to find them, and we contacted them. We're super happy with all of them.
Very, very happy, but it was a lot of digging. We sound like it.
We just wanted to show different stories.
Yeah,
go on.
Your story was incredible as well, because it was, again, it like kind of resonates with the show in terms of you're not just cooking, you know, at a restaurant, you're actually sharing that cuisine with people who are not able, like who may not have had access to it or just want to learn more about it. So I think that's why it was, her story is actually quite, and she's such a wonderful human being as well. It was so much fun shooting with her.
Yeah, and our contributor Kay, she was wonderful because she had so much knowledge about Thai cuisine, because she herself grew up in Thailand, but she's British. So we had that person to connect the two countries, to like actually show to the audience her perspective and how it all connects to our
like of Thai cuisine, right? So Kay's got all of this knowledge, and all of us, whenever she spoke, would sit around her and just be like, "Tell us more, tell us more."
Yeah.
Bring it all, going, yes, this is interesting. Let it.
Yeah.
You guys did such a good job in terms of finding.
Yeah, and our contributor Mon, she was also wonderful. She owns her own restaurant, which she runs, and she has, like, she's a single mom. She does everything by herself, honestly. Like, she's incredible. So it was just wonderful. And to meet all the people in her restaurant, they were also lovely and cooked us the most glorious lunch. It was absolutely
just going to say
Yeah.
Well, I think
so basically
that's how you sell it to a network. You just say, we're gonna do this show. We don't need a budget line for craft services.
Exactly.
That's it.
So good.
Good. Well, you guys, thank you so much for being here, for talking about it and sharing this project. I mean, it was really wonderful, especially when we're locked at home and we can't go traveling and we're seeing, cuisine from all over the world. And it was fantastic. So I hope to see more episodes soon.
Yeah,
Thank you so
hopefully.
much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all for being here. Much appreciated.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.